Welcome, everybody, to the City of Farmers Branch City Council study session for Tuesday, August 6th. Our first order of business is public comments on study session items. I don't have anybody signed up to speak at this time.
Mayor, we did have one. I gave you the.
That's with me.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So
Mayor, do you want to announce Councilman Roman is attending?
we do want to make sure everybody knows Councilman Roman is not here. He is remote in, so you'll see him on the screen this afternoon. And our first order of business is item C1, which is to review and discuss consent and regular agenda items. Councilwoman Bennett,
No questions.
Councilman Reed,
Nothing from me, thank you.
Councilwoman Villafranca,
No, thank you.
Councilman Neal,
Nothing, Mayor, thank you.
Councilman Roman.
I'm good, thanks.
Okay. And I don't have anything. So we'll move on to item C2, which is discuss community events for fiscal year 2026.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Robert Diaz, Parks and Rec Director. I have Jessica Alvarado, our Rec Superintendent, and Josie Avina, our Events Manager. So I'm going to lead us through the discussion, and I've got them here for any questions that I can't answer for you. So go ahead and get rolling. Okay, just a little background. We'll be talking about this afternoon is the events for next year as part of the budget process. We'll also be discussing the event subcommittee, which is something that started, they started meeting earlier this year. The subcommittee has gone really well. They provided some good feedback and suggestions for staff. When we looked at budget prep, some of their comments helped with some of that budget preparation. And then we showed you all a kind of our events wheel that we started using last year. We didn't really go through it, so this will be an opportunity. We'll have that as part of this presentation. And then we have updated that wheel since you looked at it back in late June. So we'll go through that and as part of this presentation as well. So, okay, just a little bit about the event subcommittee, just some feedback. The event subcommittee was around and provided some good feedback after the Gateway event in the spring, and then also after the Independence Day event. So we had subcommittee meetings after each of those events and got some good feedback. Also some suggestions just generally from the subcommittee were, of course, there can never be enough kid things to do. So that was one of the suggestions, and also some adult type focused events, typically like our Denton Drive live events we used to have. That was kind of mentioned in some of the meetings we've had. The focus of the subcommittees, they still wanted to maintain community focus. They liked that we were doing the event lineups that we had. We had good feedback on that. They also understand, and we made it clear in some of the meetings that, we have a very limited staff, and it takes a lot for us to put all our events on. And so they definitely had that in mind when they were discussing events and wanted to maintain staff or workloads. And then for the future, like I said earlier, looking at more adult type focused events, adding stuff to Kid Zone, and possibly what we can do to activate, hopefully when Denton Drive gets completed, activating that area around the Mustang Station and Historical Park. And just some highlights in regards to the budget. We still maintain in the events division budget, we still maintain the 4 large events, which are Gateway of the Globe in the spring, Independence Day in the summer, Halloween in the Park, which we're bringing back this year. That'll be in October. Then we have our Christmas Carnival. Some of the things we've done in the budget process is we tried to move, and it'll be more evident when we see the wheel coming in the next slide, but is to try to move some of the smaller type events to the events budget. And then some of the larger ones that were housed in so for example, the Halloween in the Park was in the Recreation Center budget. So we want to move that more in line because it's an events team is really heads that up. The other item we wanted to look at is maintaining the subcommittee. We still want to keep that going. It's good feedback for us, for the staff, and kind of involves it's a good link to the public and to the citizenry. So the other thing is also maintaining a flat budget. That's been, what's been discussed. And so we we want to be able to maintain the events that we have with the budgeting that's currently what we show for fiscal year '25. We want to carry that forward with fiscal year '26. And then looking forward, and we talked about this on the last slides, but we always are evaluating our events. And what's really helped is the subcommittee to be able to look at that and seeing if the things we're doing are working and the public's responding to those. So we're always looking at outreach opportunities and getting feedback. The subcommittee helps in that. And one of the other things we always like doing is just implementing something new in regards to technology. So one of the things we did do this year at Independence Day was we did the online ticket sales, and that went really well. It was the same system they used for the Bluegrass events for many years, and people were able to buy tickets online, and we didn't have to have cash at the gate. So there's always something that we're looking to do to make things easier on the public. Okay, so here's the events wheel that we talked about. We showed that earlier. It looks like we have a lot, but really we've tried to divide this up. You've got in blue, you got our Parks and Rec, the smaller event type programs, and then you've got the larger community events in purple. And like I said earlier, the 4 events are represented. You've got Gateway, Independence Day, Halloween in the Park, Christmas Carnival. We also had colored purple, the Fishing Fun. That's kind of one of those medium-sized events. It's a good, well-attended event. It's not the scale of the Christmas Carnival or Gateway, but it's a very good turnout. And it's definitely a community event. Another one similar to that would probably be Veterans Day. It's inside. It was inside the rec this year. We're looking to put it back at the Branch Connection. Last year. This year we're going to put it back in the Branch Connection. So we're hoping that's going to turn out well with being in the new facility. So, but then as you can see, other than that, you've got mostly programs. And so, for example, if you're looking at February, you've got around that February, January, you got Daddy-Daughter Dance, which is a rec center. Really, that's a program. It's a paid program. And as you go around the wheel, you've got things kind of filling in throughout the year. The way the events budget is set up right now, all the 4 events are in that community events budget. Fishing Fun is in there, and basically a lot of the dog park events are in there. Some of the community outreach, some of the historical park events like Day of the Dead, Haunts and Houses are also within that budget. Like I said earlier, Veterans Day, and then some of the events even though it's more of a program, it kind of takes a lot of coordination. So like Daddy-Daughter Dance is in that events. We moved that into the events budget this year as well. So, so that's kind of where we are in regards to what's on the plate or what's proposed for the next year. One of the things I want to mention, I want to go back one slide. The bottom of this, when we looked at budget highlights, the division budget was currently is 1.179. We're looking at next year at 1.172. So we're just right at overall the budget is going to be similar to what it is this year. So we have staff here available, and I'm available for any questions you might have, and I'll open it up.
Very good. Thank you, Robert. Councilwoman Bennett?
I'm having technical difficulties, so I'll pass.
I'll come back. Councilman Reed?
I don't have anything at this time.
Okay. Councilwoman Villafranca?
I just want to express my gratitude for all of the wonderful work that you do. I go to so many of these events, and they're always so well done. It was a little bit heartbreaking this past Christmas that had to be canceled because of the inclement weather. I mean, it was going to be amazing. And I know we can't control the weather, but I wonder if there's anything that we can do to have sort of a plan B if it starts to look like it's not going to work out because of the weather.
Well, yeah, that was, we tried to move some of those items. We had some of the vendors go to the library, and we helped support that event this past year when we got rained out. Because it's outside, it's kind of we just take our chance. Really, all those events we have, we kind of take our chances. I know a lot of the times if we have time, sometimes we can move things to different facilities. It just makes it difficult because, we're planning on such a larger scale. But we can take that into consideration for all the large events if we need to. If anything, we can maybe put some elements, if we can, at the Rec, or now that we have Branch Connection back online, we might be able to accommodate things there as well. So, but I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Councilman Neal?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for this presentation. If you could bring up that circle wheel again, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
And by my count, it looks like there's about 29 events. I just go down the right side. Can you tell me how many events we had last year? Was it the same number or less, more?
So this shows a lot of events that we try to put everything on here to make this a comprehensive list.
Yeah.
So I actually have, if we go back, I brought the same wheel from last year. And I don't have the exact, I could have to count those like you did this
Yeah, I was
one.
just trying to get an idea if we're doing more or less over the past 3 years.
We're basically
Or are they the
staying,
same?
yeah, we're basically staying flat. Last year we took our direction that we wanted to reduce, especially like when we moved bluegrass off of our plate. So that was a big event for us. So, we added, we try to give you guys a complete picture of all the things we have going on. But really, when it comes to the events side, the events team, the events division budget, it's basically the same as what we've been doing.
Okay, so we're not really doing any more or any less than we did the past 2 years?
No, sir. And what
Would
we're
that be a
doing
fair
is,
statement?
the only thing we're doing is trying to get budget more in line. So some of the things that
Okay.
had been in these outline budgets, we're moving it into the events budget.
Okay, thank you. And then on the budget side of this, given the comment you made that we have a flat budget, I noticed that the Christmas event was increased by about 50,000 from last year. Can you help explain the $50,000 extra from last year?
Yes, sir. I don't know if I'll explain kind of how we do Christmas, and I've got these guys here to help me as well. But when it comes to so we have an event, and then, so we budget for that, and then we also have all of the Christmas decor that we put throughout town. The Christmas decor is what we're increasing. What we have to do is we own some of the materials, and some of the materials we rent. We have a contractor that does that sets all that stuff up, the trees that they decorate out here, all that stuff's done by contractor. A lot of the items that we have to store those items off-site. So we've had some increases in storage. We're keeping the same, we're not increasing the amount that we're doing in decor. We're having to pay for some storage to be able to keep the items that we own, and so that cost has gone up. And we have typical increases in our contracts from the vendors as well. So between those and storage, that's where we have the cost increase.
So is the cost of the vendors who are assisting with putting them out as well as the storage? I just maybe ask in the future if the city manager might look into another opportunity for our storage to help us with some of that cost, if and where that's possible. And then I noticed back on that circle diagram, I noticed of the 29 events, it looks like 8 or 9 of them are the TBC. That just means they're going to be held at the TBC, or the intention is to have them being held at the Branch
Correct.
Connection?
So all the codes on here, TBCs, they will be held at the Branch Connection. HP means that they're held at the Historical Park. The CRC is the Community Recreation Center.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that location is where the actual event will be.
And so all these events are tallied from a budget standpoint. That money's stored in the events division budget for all of these events?
It's primarily in the events division budget, or it's in the budget for, so for example, if you just brought one up, so like at the top, February, you've got the TBC Super Bowl party.
Right.
That's not in the events budget, that's in the TBC budget, that program. It's more of a
Okay, and that's why I
program.
was asking. I'm not
Correct.
sure whether these are coming out of a TBC, because I saw the TBC next to that, and I thought, is
Correct.
that a TBC budgeted item, or is that just on location?
And then I'll just say on the flip side of that, so in April, we have Fish and Fun. Because that's a larger event, we move that funding into the events budget line item. So the events team, that's part of their purview now, the events team budget. That's not in, you won't see that one in the TBC budget.
So how would I know which one of these are in the TBC budget? Is there-
So I've got another slide that I think we can, let me see if I can get out of here and show you this. Can you go down one slide? I don't think I've got- Perfect. So if you are seeing, this is primarily these are the events that are all within the events division budget. So you've got Gateway, Fish and Fun. I've outlined some of the smaller programs that we're pushing into this events budget, events team's budget. We got Independence Day, Halloween in the Park, Veterans Day, the Christmas event, and then we have all the Christmas decor that we talked about.
Okay, and I guess the remaining items would be part of the TBC
Correct. They're-
budget? Okay.
Yeah, where you don't see anything that's left that's not on here is going to be in their budget.
Very good. Very good. That's exactly what I was after. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Roman?
Just wanted to thank you guys for this. I had asked for this item some time ago because after last year's budget, I know a lot of people were disappointed in some of the reductions we were making with regard to events, and so I think this was a great opportunity to solicit feedback from residents, and really happy with the outcome, and particularly with the alignment of the budget as well. So thank you for all your work, and to the committee.
Thank you. Councilwoman Bennett?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, all right. Very good. No other questions, so I think we're good at this point.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to take a little detour here at the moment. I'm going to jump to item C6, which is discuss a proposed columbarium project next to the Keenan Cemetery. So, council, allow me to entertain you for a few minutes. Thank you very much. This is a project that I have been working on for quite some time because we have a need in our community. Oops. I'm trying to move forward. Oh, use the phone. Okay. So, I don't want to bore you, but I do want to talk about the Keenan Cemetery and the need for a columbarium. Does everybody know what a columbarium is? Okay. Just to make sure, columbarium is a place that cremains are stored. And this would be an above-ground structure. Sometimes you can bury cremains in the ground, but we're not talking about that. The reason we're having this conversation is the Keenan Cemetery, for all intents and purposes, is full. We've had more than one occasion where there's been a service there or there was going to be a service, and somebody started to dig a hole for a new burial, and that spot was already occupied. So you have to think about what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with the oldest cemetery in Dallas County. Records when it was first brought online weren't the best. So while we have done our best to try to make sure what spaces are still available, there's very few. So I'm just going to go through very briefly on this. You've had this, hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at it. Another reason why this is so important is because about 60% or more of the funerals today involve people that are being cremated instead of traditional in-ground burials. As I mentioned, this is an old historic cemetery, and the city did hire a company to do ground penetrating radar survey several years ago. We have that map, but even still, that doesn't guarantee that you're going to see everything and know that what appears to be vacant is vacant. We don't know that for sure. This is the last map of the cemetery that we had. The area that I am talking about is this corner that's outlined in the red box. This is an aerial view of the Keenan Cemetery. And if you look on the bottom right of the cemetery, you'll see like a concrete strip, almost like a little airstrip there. That is actually a shuffleboard court, if you're familiar with the area. I don't know if you all have seen this in great detail. There's a little bit better view of it. You have a shuffleboard court and 2 horseshoe pits that are next to the cemetery. What I am proposing is to take the shuffleboard area and 1 horseshoe pit, extend the wrought iron fence that currently surrounds the cemetery, extend it to the south, and then bring it down from the north to box in basically this area and make it part of the Keenan Cemetery. So these next few slides are a few graphics that depict what a columbarium might look like. I have met with a company that makes the columbarium structure. They call it egg crate, basically, what houses the cremains. And so it's inserting this structure into whatever type of surround. So if you look at this, which is just an example, you see all of the niches there. This structure is built such that it's double-sided. We're looking on the big curved part in the front here. That's one side, and there are more niches on the back side. Here are some other examples. And again, the vendor that I've been working with, Columbarium Concepts, they just make the crate, if you will. There's 40 spots in their crate, eggshell. You would want to build a structure sufficient that it's not going to blow over in the wind. So that's why you would put 40 on one side, 40 on another side. Each one of these niches would hold the remains for 2. So 40 niches holds 80 remains. Again, more options. This is getting a little bit more ornate, but what it could look like. These structures were designed big enough so they wouldn't blow over, but a little bit more in terms of structural integrity to be able to withstand wind. This is this particular picture is from Mary Immaculate, who happens to have their own columbarium on site. There are several churches that do have their own columbariums here in Farmers Branch, but those are only available to church members. This is DFW National, and if you've ever been out to National Cemetery, it's quite impressive, and these structures are quite big, but it's an excellent depiction of what a section of this would look like. In zone number 7 here, what you're actually looking at are 2 sections of a niche, the way it was, of a egg crate, if you will, the way it was constructed, okay? It's 8 by 5, so there's 40, and you can see in this first one, there's 40 in the front, there's 40 next to it to the right, then you go to the next section. There's also another 40 on the back side, so it has enough thickness, if you will, that it won't blow over or get affected by the wind. Okay? And that's sort of what I'm proposing here, is that whatever we do is expandable, is expandable within the area that we have, such that we have 40 spaces on the front, 40 spaces on the back side. I would propose that we would sell these in order that this program would be self-sustaining unto itself and create a perpetual fund for maintaining the Keenan Cemetery. At $8,000 a niche, okay? Survey the market. Survey the market, and you'll find that some of them are way more costly than that. But at $8,000, 40 niches, that's $320,000. I'm estimating that to build this, I would ask for a budget of $200,000 from the city. I don't think we would spend $200,000, not for the way I'm envisioning this, but this would be done on a pre-sale basis. So we know through conversation at the Branch Connection especially that residents who've lived here many years, if they don't already own space in the Keenan Cemetery, they're not going to get space. And there's no other space for them to go. So our residents who pass away have no opportunity to spend eternity in this city unless we do something like this. So what would be involved? Well, obviously we need a more defined design of the space. I think that's easy enough to do. Cost estimates from the vendors and a construction company, we can get that easy enough. We also need city council approval to move forward with studying this. I believe this idea would sell itself essentially. We get calls of people wanting to know if there's space in the Keenan Cemetery. The city secretary is responsible for that. I also have John Brooks here, who is the owner of North Dallas Funeral Home, in case you want to ask a licensed professional any questions. He's here to help support me, but there is a need for this because more and more people are going to cremation. Again, I think if we do this, it's not that the city wants to be in the cremation business, but we do have an opportunity to do it right and create a fund where people who buy these niches, their funds would stay with the columbarium and the cemetery. And if you've sold 80 of these things ahead of time, that's $640,000 on a pre-sale basis to the city. Asking for $200,000 to construct the first 80 and the landscaping of this area in red that I showed you earlier. As those 80 would fill up, then I would suggest you look at building the next 80. And there's room to have probably 400 to 600 of these things within that space. So it could last a long, long time. There's a lot of shelf life to this. Let me just ask, John, have I left anything out, or would you like to say a couple words about this? I'm going to ask my super friend, John Brooks, to come up and say a word.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor and council members, Dr. Tina, good to see you. Elizabeth, good to see you. As the mayor said, that there are many churches all in Dallas County that have columbariums, but we're limited here in the city of Farmers Branch for columbariums. You have to be a member of Mary Immaculate Parish, where Elizabeth and I are members, in order to obtain a niche there at Mary Immaculate, or any church for that matter, the Presbyterian Church, the Lutheran Church, St. Andrew's Episcopal Church. And what we're finding is what the mayor said is we're finding more and more families here in the city of Farmers Branch, that are wanting their final disposition here in Farmers Branch. My family's been here since 1950. So I'm 66 years old and I've been here my whole life. So more and more families are coming in and requesting. Just to give you an example, they just changed the rulings in the city of Coppell, where now you have to be, we were going out to Coppell to accommodate some of these families for niches. But now they've changed the ruling now that you have to be a citizen of Coppell and prove that you're a citizen of Coppell in order to obtain and purchase a niche. So I think this would be a great plus for the city. And I'll take any questions if you have any questions.
So
Yes.
are there other cities other than Coppell that have limited it to the residents?
Coppell is the
But
only,
is the only one?
is the only city that I'm aware of, yes.
Okay. So the $8,000, does that include the cremation, or is that just for housing?
So no, the $8,000 was just for the space, okay? Not inclusive of any other cost. And that's just a suggestion on my part, because I was trying to make numbers work for making this feasible for the city. It might be that the city council studies this and says 7,000 is the number, whatever. But I think at 8, we're in line with the market, probably even below market in many cases. So
The other thing to keep in mind too is that you not only buy the space, are these double, they're double? So each, so a couple can go into one niche. So you buy them as a husband and wife or a significant other, and you can, when you purchase it, then naturally you can, even for more revenue for the city, you can charge what's called an opening and closing charge of the niche. So each time the niche is opened, then there's an additional opening and closing charge. That's what they do at other columbariums. I hope that answered your question, Doctor.
It does, but as I did my research on this, if we were just using it, which is why I asked if it were inclusive of your services, basically. Because where I found, if you were asking for 4,000, then it was inclusive of your services. If it were not inclusive of your services, 800 is what I found the niches to be in the area. And that's where my concern is and why I was asking that. Because $800.
I'm not
and-
aware of any
and-
niches in.
And with that 800, they actually put limitations of 25 to 99 years, and then you have to expect those people to show up and pick up their ashes. The family does. As you're basically leasing it or renting it for that
Yes,
timeline. I did find where there was another way where you actually charged the family for the maintenance of it. But again, my research showed that 8,000 would have included your services. It would
Yes,
have
ma'am.
been an all-inclusive.
Well, that would not include our charges. It would be separate charges, just like it is at Mary Immaculate or any other church that we go to that owns the columbarium. One of the, I'm not familiar with any columbarium niche spaces for 800 in the area. Maybe you can call me, let me know that so I can help some families out. Because the nearest that we can go without going to a church, you have to be a member of the church. And I have heard from many families and all of our funeral directors and our cremation specialists that they are wanting to stay here in Farmers Branch. And so when the mayor approached me about my opinion, I said, oh, that would be fantastic. We would certainly love to work with the city in trying to help sell these for you. Any other questions?
So I understand that you can be cremated sometimes for about $1,000, which I've seen before. I've recently experienced that. My mother-in-law passed away on May the 4th, and we had her cremated, brought her home. We wanted to bring her home, and there were no niches available at Mary Immaculate. 10 years ago, when they sold them, I think they were about $2,500. So I really would like the possibility of increasing the number of niches. We have a huge aging population in Farmers Branch, and I know that many people would like to stay home. I would be in favor of increasing the number of niches, lowering the price point. $8,000 is a lot, because I think for 12 you can actually have your whole casket. I'm not sure. And then the possibility of also having like a pre-sale. So if you pre-buy them, you get this price, but if you wait until, the day of, then the price would
Well,
increase.
as I believe the mayor was saying, is take this in phases, and what I proposed to do when Mayor Terry and I talked about it one day was that you put a sign out, and if it passes, you put a sign out and you pre-sell them. And that would be advantageous for the city, I think. It is the truth. There is no more spaces, and we were the funeral home that had the space dug, and we had to wait, and we had to move the space. So thank God, we had that extra space that we could go to where that person was, where we dug the space. Or not us personally, but the grave digging service. So, yeah, it all depends. It all depends upon, to answer your question, Doctor, and to answer your question, Elizabeth, it all depends upon where you go. Now there are a lot of, we're the first funeral home in the history of the city of Farmers Branch. We built when Mayor Phelps was in office. And I'm very proud of that. We're still family owned and operated. Our crematorium is still family owned and operated. It is a 8,500 square foot building in Grand Prairie, Texas, with 3 operating ovens. And so it is a growing, very much so, growing final method of disposition for a funeral ceremony. And it's only going to continue to grow because we're running out of cemetery space.
I think this would be a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for our city. And, the baby boomers, we're not getting any younger.
76 million
We're not
baby
getting any
boomers.
younger, and
Yeah.
this is definitely very, very needed. But I really would like to explore the price point and the possibility. Like 80 sounds like a lot, but it's really not. Like Mary Immaculate, as you probably know, has 0 niches left.
We have 0 niches left, and as a matter of fact, when they were built, I helped Father Bruce when he built the columbarium. He asked my opinion about several things, so I was very happy to help him with that. But yes, you're right. And even some of the parishes are running out. The churches are running out of space. So I think it's a very needed thing, very much so. Any other questions?
I think from my perspective, it sounds like we're sort of talking about dipping our toe into the funeral business, and I'm a little apprehensive about doing that. I certainly have questions just as I'm listening to the presentation about recurring ongoing maintenance costs. And I recognize that as soon as these things get filled with people's ashes, really our revenue source is over because we have limited space. And so, but what will not stop are the ongoing maintenance costs. So maybe right now it seems like we'd have some money left over to maintain it for quite some time, but eventually that pool of money is going to run out. And I'm concerned about particularly the area. It's on a turn, and I've been through that area before, and people are there sometimes late at night when they're probably not supposed to. And I just wonder if people are going to run into it and then that's an unintended additional expense that we'd have to incur. And then if we charge $8,000 and we're using, it says on the presentation that the sales would be done by a third party, what's going to be their cut for doing the sales? And then if we're going to be charging a fee for opening and closing it, as you were mentioning, who's responsible for that? Is that going to be a city function that we'll have to assign to somebody? So I just have lots of questions that are coming up as I'm thinking about it. I'm not sure necessarily how to feel about going into the funeral business. I think I have to, now that we've had the presentation, I got to put my ear to the ground and listen to what people might have to say, but I just want to be upfront and honest about some of my questions, and just as I'm thinking down the road about any financial implications that this might have for maybe not immediately in the next 5 to 10 years, but certainly several years after that in terms of maintenance, because everything is bound to break down. We've seen the Keenan Cemetery in the condition that it's in now. So just kind of thinking about all of that and wanting some clarity before it's something that I 100% am behind.
Councilman Roman, may I just address a couple of things that you were concerned about? What normally is done is when you build a columbarium like we did at Mary Immaculate, like they did at Forest Lawn Cemetery on Walnut Hill and Harry Hines, and in Coppell, is they have a fund that is incorporated in with the sale of the niche that goes on and perpetuates in order to take care of the maintenance of that niche. They're very low maintenance because most of them are made of either metal or stone. But taking that into consideration, it's something that you might think about.
Yeah, and I think it's the level of expenses is what I'm concerned about. I don't know, you're saying they're relatively new. I don't know what that term means. Does it mean it's $20 a year? Does it mean it's $200 a year? Does it mean it's $2,200? I'm just not sure. And that's where I'm just wanting to make sure I'm super upfront about the questions I'm anticipating getting some clarity on before, like I said, I'm 100% behind something.
So let me just say, right now, city maintains the Keenan Cemetery. The cost of maintenance of the Keenan Cemetery comes out of the city budget, 100%. My presentation here and the purpose of doing this is to create funds that will stay in account that will help to offset some of those ongoing maintenance costs, not only of the columbarium itself, but also of the Keenan Cemetery. Okay, so by pre-selling these niches, we're not only funding the columbarium project, but we're also helping to fund this ongoing maintenance fund. And the city will still have to have some responsibility of Keenan Cemetery. Okay, that's not going away. And we have that right now in perpetuity. Okay, so this was just a way to help offset some of that as those ongoing maintenance costs of mowing and whatnot, making sure the fence is up, can get covered.
I'm sorry if I missed this, but did you just talk about any estimates of what it might cost to build it? I missed it, I think.
No, I estimated to get this thing started would be less than $200,000, way less. But I want to have some room in there. I think if this, in general terms, is an idea that the council is supportive of, then what we will do is start working to get a more concrete estimate and come back with a design that makes best sense to start. Now, Councilwoman, said that you think 80 is not enough. We could build in and make 160. That's not a problem. I actually agree. I think more would be better. And then this area is big enough to allow for multiple phases of expansion.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think conceptually, it is a need that we have. I've had residents approach me about the idea of a columbarium. Before moving forward, I agree that we need to do a deeper dive in expense and what they would go for. A quick Google search came up with anywhere between 500 and 3,000 per niche. So, you know, on the higher end, it's in line with what was proposed. But getting a better idea of what construction costs and expected ongoing expenses in regards to maintenance, I think would help us to better conceptualize it fiscally.
Well, I don't know I can't speak for Google. One of the cemeteries that I looked at, one niche, $16,000. Okay, they're selling, this is essentially real estate. And that's what they're selling, okay? And now that $16,000 would hold 2 people, but that's what you're looking at. And that price, depending on where you go, especially if you're over closer to North Park, is going to be even more.
Agreed, and it just seems like the spread is so broad.
It is.
That we need to get something that's a little bit more defined. Additionally, what's included in that, I looked at, you know, there's additional costs for a brass plate or whatever else is going to go along with it, what the material is going to be. Like you had said, it could be steel, it could be stone. So that's going to have an impact on cost and therefore an impact on cost of construction, and therefore have an impact on cost of sale as well. So there's a lot of factors in there that seems to be that we need to iron out. With that in mind, I am supportive of the concept of the columbarium, and I think it's something that we should dive deeper into.
Okay. So, Councilman Neal?
I guess first I should start by saying this is the first I've seen the presentation, so I haven't had a chance to research it more than what you've just presented here. And just to add to that, I need a lot more research done on my part to understand where we're going with this. But just if I could just back up a little bit with respect to the Keenan Cemetery. Who owns the Keenan Cemetery for myself and the residents that are watching? Who owns the Keenan Cemetery?
City of Farmers Branch.
City of Farm. Okay, and we also maintain that as well,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes.
Just want to get that out for everyone. Do you know, or does anybody here know, if we've ever encountered any vandalism at all in the Keenan Cemetery?
I don't know.
I'm not aware of it.
We would have to check on that one. There's sometimes it ages and things need to be repaired and replaced,
So-
but
Right, and where I was kind of going was just, if we were to encounter vandalism, we'd have to pay for those costs of cleanup and repair. I don't know if we have special kinds of insurance to cover those things or not, but just questions are starting to come to my mind, and I have to do more research on how this works with a city-owned columbarium. I'm not sure how many cities around town own such a columbarium. I've heard of Capel, but I need some more time to research that and see if it makes sense for cities to generally be in that kind of business.
It would be within a fenced area.
Sure.
Also.
Sure.
So it's not sitting out open.
I feel like we're already in that business because we already own that cemetery.
Right. So, and who currently manages or handles the sales of plots that we currently have that might be still available? Is it the city manages that too, or somebody?
For Farmers Branch, Keenan,
Yes,
the city
the city secretary handles
manages that.
Okay. And so I would assume she handles all the record keeping and all that sort of stuff, and this would just continue, just be an additional aspect of that record keeping and management.
Yeah, I would say you should go visit with the city secretary and take a look at the record keeping of what we had from many years past. When Amy was here prior to Stacy coming, it was a binder.
Yeah, and I
Three-ring
probably
binder.
will do that. But as I said, this is the first I've seen the presentation, and I'm developing many questions as
Okay.
I sit up here and take notes.
Yep.
I'm happy to keep those questions for a later time, but I have quite a bit questions coming to mind. Maybe we can have a follow-up about it, or allow myself and other council folks that might want to
Absolutely.
do some additional research. But yeah, I had quite a few questions that I'm coming up with as I sit here. So,
Okay.
do we happen to need any sort of planning and zoning change for such a thing like that, or any zoning concerns?
We would need to do a lot of research on the Keenan Cemetery because that's a historical cemetery, and
Okay.
either how we would approach this being adjacent to it, our current land uses, any restrictions on the parks that are around it. There's a lot of research. The purpose of this one was a council requested item to see if council would like to go further before we start allocating, which would be a lot of research on the staff side of resources and legal as well, to determine how we can use the property in this manner. Do we like the approach, like the idea? And where would you like staff to go from there?
And for me, I can't make a fair judgment on that just yet until I've had time to digest some of this information and do some more research. So, but I don't have any objections to it. I'm not advocating for it. It's just, I need some more time to look into these things.
Fair enough. I'm just bringing it to your attention. I'm happy to visit with you one-on-one to try to answer any additional questions that you might have. I'd ask Councilwoman Villafranca if she'd be happy to work on this with me. I think she would. And, if, with council's blessing, I'd like to bring more information back, because this need is not going away. It's just, how are we going to deal with it? And so hopefully we could flush out some numbers that will help you make a informed decision.
I'm pretty sure you already know, but I wholeheartedly am in favor of pursuing this. I think it would be a wonderful service to our community. We're not getting any younger. The boomers are
Yeah.
aging out. Thank you.
Okay. Okay? Good? Okay. Well, that's all I have. So thank you very much for letting me have a few minutes of your time. John, thank you. Appreciate it. Next up is item C3, discuss an amendment to the short-term rental ordinance number 3575, amending Chapter 26, Article 8, Section 26-503 in the Code of Ordinances.
Good afternoon, council. I'm the community, my mistake. Good afternoon, council.
There you go.
I'm the Community Services Manager, Barry Boyd, and I'm here to provide you with an update of the short-term rental program currently. I'm sorry, are we changing the clicker? Okay. Right, okay. Gotcha, all right. Apologize for that, hadn't used the clicker before. First, I want to explain the difference between a listing and a unit as far as the short-term rental program. A listing is just that, it's an advertisement for rental space for temporary housing here in the city. And the rental unit itself is an actual unit that's available for rental for temporary housing. With this program, the city pays just under $15,000 a year that they pay to a third-party vendor, host compliance, and that contract is up for renewal in November of this year. An audit was conducted by the city assessing the information that's provided by host compliance, and it was determined, or it was identified, that there was approximately 196 short-term listings here in Farmers Branch. However, due to the audit and verifying the numbers, it appears that there's only actually about 58, or I'm sorry, 60, 70 units that are actually available for rent here in Farmers Branch. Of those 196 that are listed, 126 of those are totally inactive with the city. In doing so, the current fee for the licensing for the short-term rental program is $120, and we are requesting a proposed new fee of $250 for that. With the audit as well, there is a 3-strike provision within the ordinance, which any violation of any city ordinance in a year period could result in a 6-month to a year suspension of your license. And over an 18-month period, there was 158 code cases that were identified as relates to the short-term rental properties here in the city, with approximately 26 calls for service for the police department, of which that over the 18-month period, that resulted in about 1.5 calls per month to the short-term rental properties, which resulted in about a little over 2% likelihood that it was a short-term rental property that was involved in that call. Any questions regarding?
Councilwoman Bennett,
I have no questions. Thank you.
Councilman Reed.
In addition to the fees, whether current or proposed, what other income does the city get from these short-term rentals? Is there a tax that we receive?
Yes, that's all handled through the host compliance group, the third-party group. They handle all of the registrations and the collections for any fees related to the short-term rental.
Well, I was just going to follow up if we knew what it was.
So to clarify on that one, we do get hotel motel tax revenues from this one as well. Because it is a short-term rental, it can't be homesteaded, so it's going to pay the maximum property tax rate on the property as well.
And do we know what that is?
It varies per property.
Well, in total for our funds, what they bring in.
Not a lot, but we can look to see what we can get that information for you.
Just curious.
Can you tell me what you mean by the inactive, the 100 and, I don't see the slide. Yeah.
126.
Does that mean they're registered and they're not renting it, or they're not
Correct.
registered?
Correct.
They're registered, but they're not renting
registered,
them?
But they're not currently renting them, yes.
Okay, and then can you give me a general idea what the complaints to police were? I know they can vary, but just generally speaking?
It would range from noise as well as disturbances. But I don't have a full listing of the types of calls because it's so low a percentage for calls over the 18-month period that it was tracked.
Thank you.
Councilman Neal.
Yes, thanks, Barry, very much for the presentation. Ben, were you going to get back to us? I'd like to know, as I read this, it looks like we pay about $14,900 for the compliance services.
Yes.
That's our costs.
Yes.
Trying to balance that with what's the income side of this? Are we getting tax revenue that offsets that? The registration fees? I mean, is it balancing out? Are we in the positive, negative here? Not to mention the calls for police and fire service. I mean, there's costs for that too to the city. So how's that all play out?
To get into to try and get into the weeds of down to the pennies of it, that would be tough to do. But for the amount of 14,000, the biggest cost savings is we tried to do this manually the first time we started looking at how we would approach short-term rentals. It took the former director of community services, this was about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 3 full days to go on their computer and try and find all the listings and then determine. It was a huge commitment on time. So once we roll back the staff time it would take and the inaccuracies of it, because host compliance, the way it works is they go and look for listings, then they use image reverse searching to identify and confirm it's an actual listing, and then they handle all the paperwork, all the administrative side for the city. The biggest benefit here is the automation of the process. The budgetary impacts at 14.9, close to 15,000. It very much is easily covered by the amount of staff time that doesn't go into it and keeps code enforcement on the street versus at a computer trying to verify all these listings. But the raw revenue, I believe we had a question from Mayor Pro Tem Burton about what is the revenue from the hotel motel fund that we're getting. So that's another revenue source. It should be very close as far as balancing. The biggest thing is the efficiency of the operations of short-term rentals and making sure that we can actively identify them, because we get that list to Intech, and then Intech cross-references that with the calls to the police department, which ensures we know when they're getting calls, because those 3 strikes have to be related to the operation as a short-term rental and not just a general call. So it has to be correlated to it being operated as a short-term rental. So putting all those pieces together, budgetarily, it's more of the efficiency of being able to respond to residents when they have concerns about short-term rentals. Is it a short-term rental or not?
And as well, I understand the code enforcement is the same on such property as these as anybody else, or are there additional aspects of code enforcement on these types of properties versus the normal sort of
No,
residential property?
Everything is the same.
And so we incur costs on that side as well, right, as far as code enforcement aspects of that? And that's no different or than
No,
regular? Okay.
no different.
Okay, that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Roman?
No questions for me. Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead.
The proposed fee, the $250, is that only assessed against active rental listings, or if they're inactive, do they still have to pay that fee?
No, that's only for the active rentals.
Okay. So just a back of the envelope math here for 70 units, which it says at the proposed fee of $250 per, that's $17,500, which covers the $15,000
That's correct.
expense. And then on top of that, any of these 126 that decide to go active would incur that fee, plus whatever we get from increased tax revenue because of inability to file homestead, plus hotel motel tax. So it seems like that would put us in the positive.
So if I could follow up on that, and I'm assuming that $250 fee that you're proposing, that's an annual fee?
That is an annual fee.
Okay. Who is verifying that the properties in which you're saying there's 58 that are active are not receiving homestead exemption?
That is a host compliance function as well.
And how is, that's where I have an issue with this. I want to know that those properties that are operating as short-term rentals have lost their short-term, or have lost their homestead exemption. I remember when we started this, we turned in a list, and I believe it was 53 properties were removed from receiving homestead exemptions. So I want to know that somebody's not getting benefit of homestead exemption and operating as short-term rental. That's important to the city. Okay,
The city is responsible for providing inspections to these properties.
okay.
I can definitely have that included to have the inspector monitor that to see if in fact a homestead exemption is existing at those properties.
Yeah, that should be a box that when the inspector's going out, they could just do a quick DCAD search to see homestead or not.
Yes, sir.
Now, the question comes into mind, 126 that are inactive.
Yes.
So I guess the question is, what is inactive? Is inactive, they're not rented at this particular time? They're not renting at all? They're not functioning as a short-term rental anymore? You know, they don't wish to continue in that manner so they can get their homestead exemption back?
Yes. I guess it could be in all of that,
Okay.
Mayor Lynn. We don't have a way to verify
Okay,
that. But it's currently not an active listing
okay.
that's available for rent.
And this is totally different from somebody who just owns a house that wants to rent it out to a John Doe.
Yes, the difference being the short-term rental is 30 days or less,
Mm-hmm.
or if they want to rent it for more than 30 days, then it goes into our single-family rental program.
Okay, and that's handled differently.
That's handled a little bit differently, yes, sir.
Very good. Okay. That's all I had.
I just want to make sure that I understood that so we're talking about 58 rentals at this time.
Approximately 70 total, because there was an additional 12 that was added in the last 30 days.
Okay. Do we need a motion?
No, we're not taking action on this, but I think is general consensus would be to increase the fee to $250 because that's what we're asking for. That's
Yes,
what
sir.
we're considering for, and I'm
Yeah,
seeing
I would
heads.
agree. I would agree with
Heads.
increasing the fees.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
'cause-
I agree.
and with the current amount of rentals out there, that at least covers the host compliance expense.
Yes. So, yes, so you'll bring that back to us?
I can bring that back to you.
All
Yes, sir.
right. Thank you so much.
Thank you much.
Okay. Next up is item C4. Discuss the slate list of Charter Review Committee members and appointment of a chair.
Hello, Mayor and Council, Erin Flores, City Secretary, Deputy Director of Administrative Services. So we are back again to discuss the Charter Review Committee. So at the June 17th City Council meeting, you all directed that a charter election be held in May of 2027, and you submitted appointee names and topic of discussion to us for consideration. Here is what staff received. You can take a look at this list. So we have 2 for districts 1, 2, and 4, and we have 3 appointees for District 3 and 5. And then the 2 recommendations that you see there. And so for the next steps for tonight, we're going to just discuss the appointees that we've had thus far, see if those are good, if we want to make any changes to that. Once we decide the appointees that we wish to have, then we will come forward at the August 19th meeting, if we're ready for that, with the slate list to be approved. And then we have a tentative start date of September for the committee, if we can get everyone approved and get them all through the process. It may be more like in October, but we're going to go as fast as we can. So some direction that we still need. So staff took your request of having the committee appoint their own chair, and we tossed around a few ideas to make that happen and still be in compliance with our city charter. So we had a thought that we could hold an orientation for the new committee members prior to them being, and a resolution being passed with the appointees. We can have a sort of orientation, let them discuss among themselves who they would like to be chair. And then that way, when we bring the slate list forward, we can get the chair approved at that time as well. And that would let us still be in compliance with the charter. That's just one idea. We could also just go ahead and form the committee with 13 members minimum without a chair. Let the committee decide who they want it to be, and then we can bring that back to council. That would be a little more complicated, but we could make it happen if we could. And that is it.
Councilwoman?
So my understanding that I learned yesterday morning is that it's a minimum of 13, and we could have actually exceeded that and asked for more resident participation.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Knowing that, I actually do have somebody else I want to add to that.
Okay.
I don't know about anyone else, if you guys, like for your districts.
I've got a fourth listed there.
Okay.
Not in the presentation, but
Right, okay, all right, so that's, I just did not, when it was originally, even the last time, it was not clear that we could, it was a minimum that we could have gone above 13.
And I'm
I-
sorry for that misunderstanding. I did put the language here so you guys could see. It says up to at least 2. So 2 is minimum, but there's no maximum. So you guys could have as many as you want.
Okay. That it-
We would like to keep it around 3 apiece if we can. Of
Right.
course, if you want to have more, you can, but that way it would make it easier for staff to get everyone processed and get the ball rolling.
And I agree with that, just, I was asking, because alternates, the last time we did this, about halfway through, half the people weren't coming. And so I feel like having a handful more could alleviate that.
For sure, yeah.
Councilman Reed?
I agree, because I have not on this list, but the master list.
Yes.
I have a fourth person, so having
I'm sorry, are
more
you
than
saying a 4th person or a 3rd person?
a fourth,
Okay.
that's already on the list that was distributed yesterday, I forget when. But yeah, I think having more, because we are going to have people that fall off, makes sense. So let me ask you this. If the number drops below 13, what happens?
So it has to be formed with 13 members. If we go less than 13 members after it's already formed, I believe it's okay. It just stays in formation.
Do we need to change that, the charter?
Yeah, I would say this section is less than clear.
Yes.
So I would put this on the top of the list for the Charter Review
Yes.
Committee to take a look at. But as long as the committee is created with at least 13, I think that complies with the language of this particular section. Obviously, if it falls below that, you could always come back to council and say, hey, we've lost 1 or 2 members. We asked for additional names, and then we could bring it back up to the 13 if we needed to.
What about alternates?
Again, because it just says at least 13, I think it's not a bad idea to have a few extras on there in case that scenario comes up.
But it's not out of the question that, let's say we went back and each member, there's 6 of us, submitted 3 candidates. So that's 18 people, which should cover the alternate thing, should cover maybe those travel and can't make a meeting or whatever. Not everybody who's not going to make a meeting at the same time, and allow for a chair.
Right. Again, it's up to the will of the council. I would say that 18 members is quite a bit, and coordinating that many people, that's probably a good number.
Probably the max.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Councilwoman Biafranca?
Thank you so much. I would like to add one more person.
Okay.
And also, I really would like to explore letting other people have an opportunity to serve. I noticed one of the appointees has already served on the last 2 charter reviews, and I feel like we need to give other residents an opportunity to participate. I don't know what the rest of the council feels about that.
I agree.
Yeah, I had similar concerns that Councilwoman Bennett Burton had is somewhat of a misunderstanding. I thought we were choosing basically two residents from each of our representative districts. And then, I don't know, that kind of went sideways somewhere. But I also have one, possibly two additional that I'd like to have for consideration.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, Councilman Roman?
Yeah, I just want to, I have the same thought. I remember I had actually sat down with the person I appointed last time towards the end of the Charter Review Committee session that we had previously. And they too had said that there's a lot of people that participated really early on. And then I don't know if they lost interest or maybe it wasn't what they thought or they had a lot of conflicts going on, but a lot of people ended up dropping. And so I think if we add more people, I think maybe we can expect to end up at maybe somewhere around 13. And so, I'd like to add 2 more people to my list as well.
Okay, so Aaron, can we take a pause on this where we are right now? Everybody go back and submit at least 1 additional name. So you have at least 3 people for each seat.
Yes, that's the will of the council. You guys can submit whoever you would like to us.
Okay. Is it reasonable to ask that we get that done within the next week?
I just sent mine.
That's fine. Okay. So you'll coordinate that, and then we come back, and maybe we can address this on the 19th.
Yeah, so I have an item for the 19th, so I will make that more of a study session again, and we can discuss where we are then.
And one last point, we had talked about alternates. It seems like it might make sense just to have a larger group initially and whether the attrition that way, because if you have an alternate and they're not attending because they're an alternate, then they have to be brought up to speed and all that. So it might make sense just, set a number, whether it sounds like 18 might be the number that we're looking at right now, and bring them all in as opposed to having.
Require them to show up to every meeting.
Yeah, as opposed to having an alternate pool for later usage.
It doesn't say that you can't have alternates, so I think that's fine.
Yeah, but I think what council is saying, they'd prefer, let's just put 18 on there. Everybody's considered a member of the committee, and then if they fall off, they fall off. But at least everybody is considered a member at that point.
There you go.
Exactly.
Okay, all right, that sounds great.
And then I really would like to explore, the possibility of excluding people that have served in the last 2, so we give other people an opportunity to participate. Does anybody else have a comment about that?
Personally, I think it's a great idea. Brings, from what we're talking about now, especially with the additions that people are proposing, looks like we'll have more than 18. So that might be a great way to whittle down the number a bit.
And I will say, I'll go ahead and say, one of my candidates that I asked, Janet Melancon, who's District 5, I very specifically chose her because she's the Senior Vice President of Global HR for an aviation company in Addison. But prior to that, she was the Director of HR in municipalities, to include Dallas. So she does understand the charter review process. She has just not participated here.
Well, one of the folks who's listed here is David Koch. I nominated him. David has been on Charter Review Committee at least once that I know of, maybe twice, I'm not sure. I think everybody said that he did a really good job and was very fair the last time we went through this review. And I wouldn't have nominated him had he not been fair. I think he brings very good and balanced experience to the committee. Obviously, yes, he was a former councilman. Trying to put politics aside, he knows the process, and the fact that others said that he ran a very fair meeting, I think spoke a lot for him. We need somebody who understands the process and can facilitate lots of discussion and maybe diverse discussion on the topics that come up. So that's it. The other thing that concerns me here is that several people, not a majority, but several, are members of one political PAC. And I don't want the leanings of that PAC to necessarily be influencing the work of this committee. But that may not be something that I can control. So
I think it's fairly balanced. We have one conspiracy theorist, and actually, in the last charter review, I understand that one of our residents, Andy Olivo, was actually not allowed to speak in the beginning until, I'm not really sure of all of the details, but so depending on who you ask, it was all, fair and balanced. So I just, that's, putting that aside, I just feel like if you've already been on it twice, let's let other people participate. David Griggs happens to be an attorney, and he teaches election law. So he's also very qualified, as are the others, I'm sure.
Might I suggest that we compile the total list before we start promoting individuals at this point in time? Get a feel for everyone who's on the list. At that point in time, we can, explore the pluses and minuses of each of the candidates and provide our support for individuals at that time.
I'm fine with that. Good? Good.
That
Okay.
sounds fair, thank you.
So then we will look for your additional names. Just another point of direction that we needed. So are you guys okay with us doing the orientation that we talked about? And that way they can choose their own chair and come back? Okay. And then one more point in consulting with the city attorney. So we had talked about last time we were going to do twice a month meetings. We feel like that's excessive, that we could probably do once a month. So whenever you guys are out talking to your people, you can tell them once a month. Yeah. Okay.
Wouldn't they sort of decide what works best for them as a group?
So we have to coordinate with the attorney. So it's kind of hard to leave it just out in the open. We just have to make sure the attorney can be there and that it's a time that works for other boards or commissions that are going on. So I would say we would probably need to set the schedule.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And then, Mayor, just to confirm for the members of the council that haven't submitted alternate names, to get those by the end of the week so we can get our agenda published and ready in a timely manner would be very much appreciated.
Okay. Thank you. At this time, I'm going to read us into executive session. So please bear with me because we've got 6 things to read. Item D1, City Council will convene into closed executive session pursuant to Section 551.089 of the Texas Government Code regarding security assessments and security personnel. Item D2, City Council will convene in closed executive session pursuant to Section 551.074 of the Texas Government Code for personnel to deliberate the appointment, employment, compensation, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, a second alternate municipal court judge pursuant to Section 28-23 of the Farmers Branch Code of Ordinance. Item D3, the City Council will convene in closed executive session pursuant to Section 551.087 of the Texas Government Code to discuss economic development incentives for Farmers Branch Project 2025.014. Item D4, City Council will convene in closed executive session pursuant to Section 551.087 of the Texas Government Code to discuss economic development incentives for Farmers Branch Project 2025.015. Item D5, the City Council will convene in closed executive session pursuant to Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code to seek confidential legal advice from the city attorney regarding the property located at 2645 Lyndon B. Johnson Freeway. And item D6, City Council may convene into closed executive session pursuant to Section 551.074 of the Texas Government Code, personnel matters to discuss the potential creation of an in-house legal department, including staffing levels, qualifications, compensation, roles and responsibilities, and future considerations related to internalizing legal services. So with that, we'll take 10 minutes and meet back in the city manager's conference room. Then we will be back out here at 6 o'clock. Thank you very much.